Merry Christmas, everyone. I am Rob Adams of the Actors Workshop, and welcome to a special Christmas edition of In the Abyss. Today, I figured, since it is Christmas, that the best episode I could put together is, that's right, you guessed it, my top 10 list of favorite Christmas movies. Now, listen closely. My top 10 list of favorite Christmas movies. And the criteria is pretty simple. If it is involving Christmas time or Christmas itself, it counts. Okay? So that is the criteria I used. I went through my list. I actually have a tie at number 10, and you'll see why. And then we get going. All right? So here we go. Starting at a tie for number 10, I'm going to go with Die Hard. And a lot of people always say that is not a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas Eve. It is a Christmas movie. And yes, it is an action. It's a thriller. It's happening all in the same building, but it happens on Christmas Eve. And because of that, it counts top 10 easily. Tied with it, though, is Bad Santa. And as you can see on the version I have, it's Badder Santa. Billy Bob Thornton's great in this. It's funny. It's good stuff. Bernie Mac, great. Good comedy. John Ritter, right? God rest his soul. He was amazing. Just a fun, good comedy. And whenever you have kids and you get to have that kind of humor with kids, it just makes for a really, really fun comedy. So that is my number 10 with Die Hard. At number 9, it is a classic. It's a Wonderful Life. Jimmy Stewart, what can we say? He's fantastic. The reason it's so low on my list, or high, however you want to look at it, at number 9, is it's a little overrated for me. I think that it's a legendary film, and it's great, and it's one of those ones you have to watch, but I don't necessarily know if it's as good as it's made out to be. I think its legacy is bigger than the movie itself, but it is a classic, and it definitely is one of the best Christmas movies of all time. Every time you hear a bell ring, an angel gets its wings, right? And so there is a message at the end to appreciate what you have and who's around you and all of that kind of stuff. All right. And number 8, another classic, Miracle on 34th Street, and not the remake, the classic, the original, with a young Natalie Wood. And I mean, she's terrific. The actor who plays Santa Claus looks like him. He's great as him. He's terrific, but it's really Natalie Wood, and she steals the show. And it's just a really good movie. What I like about this version is it has the original black and white, and then it has the full color restored version, so you can watch both. I prefer the black and white because that's what I grew up with, but it's cool to have that extra version. Great movie, Miracle on 34th Street at number 8. At number 7, Fred Claus. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. They don't like Vince Vaughn in this movie. I think he's really good. I think he's really funny. Elizabeth Banks is terrific. Paul Giamatti as Santa. He's terrific. I saw this movie in the theaters, and I remember one of the best scenes, it's probably the best scene of the movie, is when he goes to Siblings Anonymous, and you really have Frank Stallone, and you have Roger Clinton, and you have Stephen Baldwin, and they're airing out all their problems and jealousies with their brothers and having to cope with the fact that they have famous brothers. And here's Fred Claus having to deal with the fact that he has Santa as his brother and nobody believes him. It's just a really funny, creative scene. Really, really well done. Just for that scene alone is worth watching the movie. But it's a cool story. And it's fun, and you have the Vince Vaughn humor, so it's a good, fun holiday movie. All right, coming in at number 6, Dennis Leary, the ref. Yeah, he's a guy who's on the run from the cops, and he kind of gets held up at this house, and he holds this couple on Christmas Eve as hostages, and plays their doctor, Dr. Wong, through Christmas Eve with his family, trying to pull it off. And it just has a lot of funny banter and bits, and it's another good, fun comedy. And of course, at the end, all the bad stuff ends up making it good stuff, and how we remember to be thankful and appreciate during Christmas time. It's too bad we don't do that year round, and it always takes a holiday like Christmas to remind us how important things are and people are in our lives. Oh, all right, I just dropped the whole pile. Anyways, at number 5, the classic Home Alone. I tell my students all the time, the reason I don't train kids is kids do it naturally. And this is a great example of Macaulay Culkin doing it naturally. He's just terrific. It's honest. It's pure. And playing off of Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, it's just so good. This movie, I think, for all of us, is a classic. It's one of those movies that never gets old. And there's so many good moments in the film that even if you've seen it several times, like I have, you still laugh out loud. That time where the spider is put on Daniel Stern's face and he screams, it makes me laugh out loud every single time. I just love it. I think it's just so good. And like I said, the kid is great. You know, he does just such a good job, and the whole thing is really well done. It's one of those ones you watch every single year, and never gets old. All right, narrowing it down to our last 4. This one I really like. I think it's hilarious. Amy does not like it, but it is what it is. It's my list, it's not hers, and that's Trapped in Paradise. Nick Cage, John Lovitz, Dana Carvey, Matching a Mick. Once again, kind of like The Ref, they go to this small town of Paradise to rob a bank and then get trapped because of a snowstorm. It's the holidays. And, once again, we find peace, we find love, we find forgiveness, we find all of those things that you can find in a Christmas story coming to end with some good stuff, some good comedy, some good banter. We don't think of Nick Cage as a comedic actor, but putting him with John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, who are really good comedic actors, he does a good job using them he's the straight guy while they're the comedians, and it really works. And there's really fun moments in it. I do enjoy it, and for me personally, it doesn't get old, and that's why it's really high up on my list. At number 3, another one I think a lot of people like and a lot of people put on the top of their list is Four Christmases. Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon, they are terrific together. And you have Robert Duvall, you have Sissy Spacek, and we all know the story, and if you haven't, you need to watch it. Their parents are divorced, and basically they get stuck going to 4 different Christmases because they have to visit each of their mom and dads, right, and their families, and dealing with all that kind of stuff. And very much like Fred Claus, you get that Vince Vaughn humor and that banter and his reactions and his responses, and it makes it fun. And she just, Reese is Reese. We learn as film actors to just do you, be yourself. And Reese is a great example of Reese doing Reese. She's always the same, and it doesn't matter if she's in a movie like this or she's in Walk the Line. You see Reese Witherspoon. Yeah, she's June Carter in Walk the Line, but she's Reese Witherspoon. And in this, she's who she is. And that's what we like about her. She has that likability, very much like an early young Meg Ryan did in her heyday. There's that likability that just draws you to them. And Reese has that, and with Vince Vaughn, it's great, and all the other stuff. Favreau, forgot about him as Vince Vaughn's brother. There's a lot of great moments. It's fun. It's a great comedy. All right, number 2, which I think probably for a lot of people have as number 1 on their list, Christmas Vacation. It's a classic, never gets old. Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid. It's just all the shenanigans, all the stuff that goes on. Chevy Chase is that guy that everything that could go wrong goes wrong for him. But there's so much, fun that happens along the way. And then, of course, the light at the end of the tunnel. And like every other Christmas movie, we are grateful for what we have and who we have in our lives. I have this awesome Steelbook edition. It's just cool. Just a great movie. And I know a lot of people are probably surprised that this is my number 2. So everybody's probably sitting there going, I bet you it's Elf is number 1. Or The Grinch, because I'm wearing The Grinch. No, it's not The Grinch, although I like the original cartoon. And I'm not a big Elf fan. Yeah, it's funny. It's got its moments and stuff like that. But for me, not enough to make it even in my top 10. Maybe 11 or 12, right? But number one, and people that know me know the answer to this, and that is Surviving Christmas. Ben Affleck, James Gandolfini, Catherine O'Hara, and what's her name? Christina Applegate. I can't believe I can't remember her name. Anyways, the idea is so creative and so good of them. Basically, Ben Affleck pays his family to be his family for Christmas because he doesn't have a family to go to for Christmas, right? Once again, it's a fun comedy, and we never think of Ben Affleck as a comedic actor. He's terrific in this. He uses them really, really well. Gandolfini's great. I mean, if you've ever seen The Sopranos or anything else, can you imagine this guy supposedly going to be your dad? You know, and then you got, you know, Catherine O'Hara, who's, you know, the mom from Home Alone, and she just has that dry, you know, personality, sense of humor, and just does such a good job. And then Christina Applegate, she's just adorable in this, and the way that she uses Ben Affleck and the way they use each other and banter off each other, it really is fun and it really is good. And this is one of those movies a lot of people have never even heard of, let alone seen. And I love it. And maybe you watch it and you don't like it. Maybe it's not even your top 10. But for me, it's a go-to every year. I love it. I laugh hard every time I see it. They tie in a little bit of the acting world, so it's good for us. It's a really fun movie. And once again, how do these movies end? They end with appreciation. They end with thankful for what you have, and you know, just all of those things. And that's the cool thing about Christmas movies, is that you know what, it shows the sides of trouble in families, even like in a Fred Claus, where you know, this guy has Santa Claus as a brother, and they still have brother issues, but when it's all said and done, you know, they remember that they're brothers, and there's a love for each other and all of that kind of stuff. And that's Surviving Christmas for me. And a lot of these, Vacation, Four Christmases, all of them, you start to just realize, take a step back, you know, of our crazy lives, our hectic lives, you know, in 2020, this crazy hectic year, and just realize, you know what, be grateful for who you have around you, your family, your friends, and be grateful for where you're at in life. I mean, I sure am. I have an amazing wife. I have 3 amazing kids. I have amazing students in my workshop. I have amazing kids that play football for me. I'm blessed. And when you step back and realize what you got, you just realize I'm blessed. And so I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys watching. We have one more episode next week to end the year. But I hope you guys are enjoying your families and your friends and all that kind of stuff, and having a great time. And like I said, leave your list. I'm sure there will be plenty of different movies on there, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.